From NBC News, this is Today.
This morning on Midlife Today, we're talking about gray hair. You know the stereotype. On men, it's distinguished. On women, it can be something else. So we gathered some folks together to see if attitudes are changing. We've all seen the makeovers.
All right, Pat, let's see the new you. Look at Pat.
Do you think that gray hair with a man, it can give him a sense of authority? With a woman, however, it can look like she doesn't care about herself.
On the flip side, there are guys over 40 who'd rather not have silver locks.
It never really didn't bother me until people started asking me if I was the older brother. My brother he's at least 12 years older than me.
No doubt, it's a double standard.
There are a lot of things in this beauty world that are not fair, and that's one of the things that we have to get over.
So we went to Advanced Focus and gathered our own focus groups of men and women on the topic.
Tell me the names of some well-known men who have gray hair and wear it well.
George Clooney.
Sean Connery, yeah.
President Obama.
And Bill Clinton.
Anderson Cooper. Oh yeah,
The groups had a tougher time thinking of well-known women who sport gray hair.
There are really very few that aren't really old, right? Betty White.
Toni Morrison. Jamie Lee Curtis went gray.
Paula Deen.
Oh, she's very pretty here.
Queen Elizabeth. But I mean, she's an older woman.
For our next exercise, we asked 6 Today staffers, some with gray hair, some without, to pose for photos. We photoshopped a second version of each picture, either putting in or taking out gray, and asked our focus groups which look they preferred.
Oh, I definitely like it better with the gray hair.
Yeah.
For 2 of our 3 men and 2 of our 3 women, more than half of the panelists preferred the gray hair look. For senior producer Don Nash and director Joe Michaels, gray is their actual color.
I'll go with the gray.
He looks younger with the darker hair, but I think he looks better, more natural, more appealing with the gray in.
So the gray?
Gray.
Raise a hand.
Gray, definitely.
Gray.
And for program manager Ada Famulari and culinary director Bianca Henry, the gray was photoshopped in.
She has beautiful hair. Either way,
the gray too. The gray is nice.
Gray. I like the gray. Go with the gray.
She does good with that gray. She looks good with it.
My girl, when you pull her up, and I love her with the gray.
Vivian Diller is a psychologist and author of Face It, What Women Really Feel as Their Looks Change and What to Do About It. Donnie Deutsch is a guy with gray hair. Welcome to both of you. It is a double standard, isn't it? It exists, doesn't it, Donnie?
Of course it does. And I think what's interesting in that focus group is a guy who's done thousands of focus groups. None of the women had gray hair in there. So and the men also, sometimes what you say in a focus group is what you think is politically correct and smart. But when we look at real life, unfortunately, there is this double standard.
Where does it come from, though?
Well, this double standard has been in existence for thousands and thousands of years. It's rooted in the original role that men and women played in life. Looks were important. Women were to attract a mate. They procreate. And then they died before they even saw gray hair. Not that long ago, 100 years ago. Men, on the other hand, were about protecting their clan, being powerful and strong. Gray hair actually enhanced that role. They were seen as more senior, leaders.
But then, through media and advertising, not to pick on you, we perpetuate it.
We do. And what's interesting, but the women perpetuate. Years ago, I helped launch a magazine called Leers, which was for women over 40. And it was both the editorial and the ads were just women over 40, gray hair. Women rejected it. They wanted to see the idealized younger image. It's the women who perpetuate even more than the men.
Did it surprise you that part of our little experiment where we took the pictures of our staffers and then put gray hair on some who didn't have it, the fact that a lot of those people in that focus group preferred the women and the men with gray hair?
Yeah, like Donnie's saying, I think there's a great eagerness for an authenticity about aging with grace and beauty. I think many women, 78 million baby boomers exist today, more than half of those are women. We really do want to see gray as beautiful. But I do think we're going to have the media the on-screen models who demonstrate that there is a way to disconnect the old associations.
Still, I don't know if women want to see gray as beautiful. You know, there's not one woman I don't know that when they describe coloring their hair, that's like putting makeup on. Nobody even there's not even the remote taboo. It's almost a given.
But
and
what if white was a color you chose? What if just like now younger women are coloring their hair as part of their regular repertoire? What if we add to that palette
what if
white?
would be great, but the reality is the media is worse than ever. We lionize young more than ever with 500 channels today. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality, and it's not going to change.
Let me just jump in because you talked about coloring your hair. Double standard number 2: should men get their hair professionally colored? 43% of the people said, "Why risk making? It's smart. Why risk making a mistake doing it yourself?" 56% said it's a little vain. A guy shouldn't be spending as much time
Matt, you
in
and
a
I
salon
were at
as a
Fred
man.
Kai the other day, and we're doing our coloring and everything. So no, it is a double standard, and I think most men would not come clean in the way I talk about
I think that the double standard places pressure on men too. Vanity for men is not seen as masculine. It's not a man's role to care so much about his looks. It makes him look a little insecure. I think that gap is narrowing. I think more men are being seen at salons and getting pedicures and manicures.
They don't talk about it. They do not talk. There's not one man, and I happen to know some guys that color. They will never talk about it.
We are going to end it right there, Donnie. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you very much, because I know my name's about to come up after your local news.